Hi, I am Erica Hauser, Realtor with Keller Williams. One question I get asked often when meeting with new clients, or even people that are just curious what I do to differentiate myself from the many amazing realtors that are out there. So, first off, I treat every client like family. I take this very seriously. This is a huge decision to buy or sell a home. So whether you're looking to, buy or sell a house, I take that time with every client to understand their needs, their goals, both short term and long term, and their priorities to help them through this process and really start to pave the way for helping them and guiding them in what they're looking for. Um, whether it's buying or selling, when I first start working with some people, they're overwhelmed. They're not sure what they're looking for. They're not sure what the process looks like. So I take it as it's my job to take them down that path and explain every step of the way. For a seller, this could mean finding out their reason for moving, where they're planning to go, their details such as, what's important to them, where do they see themselves in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Is this next destination their final destination, or do they possibly want to move again? I mean, sometimes these are questions that people might not have all of the answers to, but my job is to get you thinking. They may also want to know, what they love about their home currently and what drew them to that neighborhood, that town. How, are they happy with the schools in their area? If they have children, what do they love about their home, and what improvements have they made to their home that will make that home stand out from their competition? So for a buyer, in really beginning to understand what they're looking for, I never assume that just because maybe whether it's a first time buyer or a person who has bought a couple of homes, I never assume that they fully understand the process. Just because I know, how much work it is, and you don't buy a house every day. And not all realtors are the same. I never assumed that the last realtor they worked with, if it wasn't me, took them through that full process and explained every detail to help them through the process each step of the way. So I start from the beginning. I want to know, things such as what are they looking for? What is their budget? What neighborhoods, what towns, what schools, if that's something that's important to them. Property size, are they looking for, a ton of land, or are they looking for more of a closer community type neighborhood? Are they looking for a specific location? Do they need to be close to work? Do they want to be in a downtown area where there's, an active area of a lot of different things happening? So these are all really important things, and that's just the start. There's a whole bunch of other questions that I get into as I'm working with my clients. Next, what I'll do is I provide action items. So whether that's buying or selling, let's say if we start with the selling piece of it, there might be things that you need to get repaired in your home, or you may need to get, if you have this bright orange or green or red room, it might help to get that room painted just so it doesn't stand out as a potential eyesore to a client. That's just, again, a very simple example, but there's always, in every situation, just a list of different action items that will need to take place in order for us to have your house be sell ready. I think I never assume that people understand this. And then second, I always explain that the way that you live in your house is not the way that you sell your house. They are completely different. And it's really important that people understand that, because while it is really difficult, it gets your home, sold and more appealing to buyers faster. Now, if this is on the buyer side, some of your actions may be to, if you haven't been pre-approved yet, to talk to a lender, understanding what that type of loan program will look like, how much you're bringing to the table or what you're thinking about bringing to the table for a down payment. If you're a first-time buyer or if this is an investment property, there's so many different things to think about. So there's a lot of different questions and then a lot of actions that I try to outline depending on where you're at in the process, whether you're buying or selling, and then show, document and show, an approximation of what, most importantly on the seller side, what you'll receive or what you'll net out of your home sale. So this is very important because and there are situations where this, has happened. If you are planning to sell your home and there's a specific amount that you need to get back to, whether it's to purchase your next home or whatever you're planning to use those funds for, you have to have an idea that you are going to get that amount back, and if it's a little less, does it still make sense to take that next step? If it's more, great. And again, I always remind people too that it's usually a ballpark because things can adjust, depending on the market, depending on the town, the local market, where you're at. But I try my best to really educate people on the process, what it's going to look like, the possible curveballs that we may get thrown at us, because you're buying a house, there will be curveballs, or selling a house, there will be curveballs. And I think most importantly, just what to expect so that if those curveballs do come our way, you're ready. You're ready to go, and it's not a surprise. There will always be some kind of surprise, but I try to avoid those major surprises and keep you as educated and, make you feel informed. And I pride myself on communicating so that you do feel comfortable throughout the entire process. So how am I different? I've kind of explained a little bit about how I operate, and this is, again, just scratching the surface. I'm not going to share everything right now, but that's something that I go over a little bit more when I meet individually with clients. So this is buying or selling a home is a very emotional process. And I understand that. I've bought and sold homes as well. And I understand that it can be stressful, but it doesn't necessarily have to be as stressful as maybe you've experienced in the past. If you're prepared, well-educated by your realtor of what to expect, what could happen, your financial situation, what you have, whether it's in assets, savings, where you're going to be once this is all completed. And at least from the perspective of if you're selling a home, again, as I mentioned earlier, you want to have an idea of, okay, here's about what we're going to get from the sale of our home, and how can we use that, to further progress our future. So as I mentioned earlier, and I'll end on this, but it's inevitable in buying or selling a home. There will be, sometimes it's smooth sailing and very simple, and I'm always grateful when that happens, as are my clients. But when there are those little scenarios or little issues that pop up, I personally feel that it's important for you as the buyer or seller how I respond, because you are counting on me to find the next solution, take you to the next step, get you through this obstacle. So I think the best way to describe how I handle that is I take a step back, take the emotion out of it. If you've worked with me before, I tell you, take a very big deep breath. We're going to get through this. And some of you might know who you are as I mention these things. a few things that I've done, and this is just a few. Again, I'm not going to mention everything, but I had a client once who it was literally move out day. Closing was taking place. They realized that they needed more paint, and I don't remember the exact details, but I think the paint that they bought wasn't the same color or tone or type as the paint that they had at their house. And the client called me, very stressed, crying. And I said, don't worry, I got it taken care of. So I went to, and mind you, this is during the pandemic when there's, shortages on everything. I went to the local paint store. I knew what color they needed, got the can of paint, and brought it to their house along with lunch because I get it. I knew they were having, not just I was going to say she, but I know they were having a very stressful day. Things were, just little things here and there were not going their way. And I wanted to do just even a small gesture like that to help that moment and improve that experience. One other example that comes to mind is I had another client a few years back who we were selling their home. They were getting a lot of showings, beautiful home, things were going great. And their daughter, unfortunately, had a medical scenario that came up, and the daughter was living out of state. So they had to go stay with their daughter, take care of them through this really important time. And I remember my client saying to me, how are we going to do this? How will I continue to sell the house if I'm not even here? And I said, do not worry about it. I have your back. I have you taken care of. And we did it. I went to their house. I turned on the lights. I made the house look presentable. If I needed to vacuum after, a showing or whatnot, I did it. Again, this is not, I don't go around cleaning houses for every client, but if you are in a bind, I have your back. And I think that is what sets me apart. I'm sure that I know there's a lot of amazing agents out there, and I get the pleasure and joy of working with them. But this is me, and this is how I take care of the people that I work with.